Hey, Tom.
Hey, what's up, Pat?
I would like you to repeat after me.
Ooh, okay.
I, Tom Kelly,
Oh, I, Tom Kelly,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to drop steaming hot takes
to drop steaming hot takes
whenever humanly possible.
Oh, God. Whenever humanly possible.
Regardless
Irregardlessly
of
of
whether or not we're recording.
whether or not we are recording.
All right, let's just start the show.
Okay.
Hey, man.
What's up?
Nothing much. I was driving back from Cincinnati this week, and I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast like I usually do when he has Chuck Klosterman on. And they are both Gen Xers, and they were talking about movies like Reality Bites and Singles, and they were kind of discussing after, is it Chris Cornell, the Soundgarden lead singer?
Right.
His death, and kind of the movies that kind of started what a soundtrack was, and before iPods marketing songs like, oh, cool, I could go out and buy a CD with 6 good songs on it. That's worth $10 or $15 or whatever. And then they kind of made the claim that, for the early 2000s and kind of the Gen Y, there was nothing really that reflected both music and, how life was, at the time, like snapshots like Reality Bites and Singles were. And I wanted to present the notion that perhaps they're missing the fact that Scrubs was exactly that. And I thought, since you and I are both huge fans of the show, we could both kind of maybe address that point. They just because they couldn't think of it on the fly during the podcast doesn't mean they're wrong. But I thought, movies like American Pie, I mean, the soundtrack to American Pie has Mutt by Blink-182 on it, which is not a radio single, if I recall. So for them to dig that deep, and it I don't know, it kind of says to me that there was some thought put in. Anyway, wanted your thoughts on that, and then eventually we'll go down the rabbit hole, I should say, and discuss whether or not JD and Elliot deserved or should be together, and when the logical ending should have been for that show. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay. God, can you repeat? Can you repeat? Not even for the show, just
so
for
the
me.
claim that was made.
Yeah.
The claim that was made was there was no early 2000s movie or that was not only a very good snapshot of life at the time, but also a representative of having a soundtrack that reflected the music at the time, because they were talking about Chris Cornell's death and how the movie Singles and Reality Bites, was a reflection of both to a T. And, there's a moment in kind of when Zach Braff was having the best 3 to 5 years of his life when Garden State came out, where he meets Natalie Portman in the waiting room of the hospital. And she's like, I am bothered today, or today's not my day. And he has his personal iPod and he's like, here, this might help. And he puts his headphones over her ears and lets her listen to, I think, Caring is Creepy by the Shins. And to me, that's like a scene in a movie, or, the Zach Braff vibe, that Scrubs brought, that it does exactly that, I think. And, there were movies that came after it, like Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist and things like that. I think those movies and shows are out there, and I just wanted to hear your response to, kind of their claim and, as a Gen Y. Why or yourself?
So it's not that I dislike movies. I've just never been like a very big movie watcher. I don't know if it's my attention span. Maybe the fact that I haven't really had like friends who were that into movies. So I don't have much knowledge on movies from the early 2000s that would fit the description they were claiming doesn't really exist. But I think that their claim obviously has to be ridiculous because, I mean, unless you've seen every movie, how can you make
to clarify, it wasn't a claim.
Like
it was
that?
more of just like a passing thought, which I find, you know how heated I get when people older than us just kind of throw blanket
Right.
statements. You can look back and look at the receipts on that one. But it was just kind of like I don't think there really is, just kind of a passing thought like, of course there's no substance to the Gen Y experience, So, yeah, it was just interesting. And I watched Reality Bites. Reality Bites is a fucking movie. I mean, I guess if I was in college in 1992, it would have been the fucking truth, Don't get me wrong. I fell asleep 3 times trying to watch Garden State before finally watching it.
Right.
I guess kind of liking it. So, and that was I was probably the target audience for that. So,
Well, I think there's a couple things in play. We might have discussed this in terms of music a few weeks ago. About how most our parents still kind of listen to the same music they did when they were our age, and that's because I think it was something you said some studies have shown that past 22, 23, you don't really connect with music.
I don't know
the way
if
you used to
35 was
anymore.
the end of the spectrum where most people kind of cut off at 35.
Sure.
And there are outliers. There are music people that are constantly buying records, but it's rare, I think.
Well, I think, in those terms, then obviously they're going to say that they're speaking for our generation, saying nothing has been, a staple of our time, but they're saying that as someone from a different time. So there's no validity to what they're saying, I think anyway. But to talk about Garden State, Hannah, my ex-girlfriend, she was into more of the indie vibe than I was at the time. And I remember we watched Garden State at my house right after we started dating. She's like, "This is my favorite movie. I love it." And she asked me if I liked it when we were done. I was like, "Yeah, it was okay. I don't think it was really my thing." And she cried because she felt so bad that she made me sit there for an hour and a half for something I didn't love.
I honestly,
And,
I'm not blowing smoke when I say I fell asleep the first 3 times I tried to watch that whole movie. And I'm not even going after, Klosterman's one of my favorite critics or just commentators of, anything ever. So I'm not trying to bash them. I'm just trying to sort through the snapshot in time, that it was, and the carrying around your iPod, which was obviously different than having to buy the soundtrack to a movie, because half of the songs on it were things you like, I just remember, Hannah would always be the person that had, the most interesting iPod in the school, so you'd be like,
Most diverse, yeah.
Right. What are you digging? Because I have no idea where to start. And,
well, even back in those days,
I don't know if that helped pave the way for hipsters. Again, if people want to knock the early 2000s and Gen Y, that's fine. Because obviously we're flawed as just like any other graduating senior class who yells we're the best. You know what I mean? But at least do it with a little bit of perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to focus on, Garden State too much because I know that was not really kind of the point of this, but
I just felt like there was an importance to, and bringing it back to Scrubs, and we'll get into Scrubs more heavily, in a moment here, which is the topic of this week's show. I felt like it was important when that show was hitting on all cylinders. Was kind of like, oh crap, what it's like the music involved with each scene was as important as the dialogue, or just getting it right.
yeah.
I don't know, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to draw a line that isn't there between the television show Scrubs and what eventually became Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, a movie with Michael Cera and Kat Dennings. I want to say one of the 2 Broke Girls co-stars. But anyway. Just kind of this playlist-based, you can get songs anywhere, and it was important, kind of what you were on to at that given time. Anyhow, maybe I'm just talking in circles, but anyway,
I'm sorry, I don't really have too much to add to that, mostly just because I'm not a huge
right, no, that's fine. We can move into our direct first question, which is Scrubs the greatest show of all time? or is Scrubs the best show of all time?
Man, I would love to hear your how you differentiate the two.
I think the question is pretty clear, Tom. No, did we do Desert Island when we did the Desert Island episode?
We did.
Did we go over television shows?
We did. We talked about Scrubs.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we both.
I guess my question is, would it make your top 5? Because I know you and I have both bonded over it in the past.
I think it might have.
I think it was I guess the reason I'm bringing it up is when I thought about music and what was happening in culture and flippy, weird cell phones. I think there was like probably a different style of cell phone in each season of the show. You know, it was just kind of scattered. I mean, Family Guy made fun of it for being kind of on and off the air and on different channels all the time somehow. Like, for being as brilliant and funny as it was never like, you know, like Friends was on probably at the same time on Thursdays on NBC for like multiple seasons, I'm guessing, right? But like, I feel like Scrubs was always fighting for screen time, which always blew my fucking mind just because of how, I don't know. I feel like everybody our age just ate it up, or maybe I'm looking back through rose-colored goggles here.
Well, I didn't know that about them trying to find their place on like a network or a time. Because when I first started watching this show, I don't know if it was first season or second season. I know it was very early on. And I was kind of at this transformative time in my life where I still liked the kind of like slapstick goofy stuff, but I started feeling like maybe I shouldn't, you know, like maybe I'm too old for that now. So I feel like I watched Scrubs pretty regularly for a while. And then one day I was, you know, like JD will slip comically and be like, wow, you know, and I at this time in my life, I don't know if I was like 8th grade or freshman in high school or whatever. I was like, I don't know, maybe the kind of slapstick stuff isn't really working for me anymore. So I didn't watch it for a few years. And then I think as we became closer friends, I guess we were friends starting in 8th grade, but we kind of bonded over Scrubs, and I started watching it again, and I was kind of playing catch up. So I wasn't watching it in real time. I don't know if that factors into, I mean, definitely me not knowing that it was kind of swapping networks and this and that. That does kind of blow my mind because it seems like such a successful show, but maybe that's just in our group of friends. I don't know.
Right. And I don't know if I have my numbers right there, but maybe the first 3 or 4 seasons weren't touched. I just remember there being a Family Guy joke where he like wants to watch it and he doesn't even know how. Like, where do I even find it? Is that show even? Are they still making it? Like,
that's so sad.
You know, it kind of goes without saying that it was one of those. Well, let me ask you this: in your lifetime of shows that you could say were Gen Y shows, who are the other heavy hitters?
The Office.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true, but maybe that comes a little later. Maybe it didn't. Like, would Scrubs have only been 3 seasons deep when The Office first aired?
Maybe. Let me check it out. Scrubs release. So Scrubs release date October 2nd, 2001.
Okay.
The Office release date.
That's a tough time in American history to start a screwball comedy television show.
Right, and The Office was 2005, first quarter.
Okay, so Scrubs was almost it was
a third of its life in.
Gosh darn, I wish you wouldn't have said The Office just because of how awesome that show is.
Right.
But and again, this all started because of a soundtrack based urge to define kind of the early 2000s or whatever. And I just didn't want it to fall on American Pie for some reason. I will say that Stifler's antics had me giggling throughout my teen years, but I guess I wanted it not to be. I didn't want American Pie to take home the flag of like, we're what defined it, right?
I never saw it.
You never saw a single American Pie movie?
No.
Fair enough. You're not missing, well, no, I take it back. It was a snapshot. I think it counts as one of those snapshot movies, both music and antics and way of life and things like that. But
Well,
or it might have just been a generic high school. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of. Oh God, I'm sure there's shows that I'm missing. Damn, I mean, any of the other shows that I watched were kind of B-list because I didn't have. Well, I guess they wouldn't have been on cable. Like I remember watching, and I'm crucified for this by my girlfriend. I remember watching King of Queens, which is probably a little bit before Gen Y. Yes, Dear. And there was another one that showed right after Yes, Dear. But those aren't, do not compare to Scrubs or anything. I just think they're like from around that same time. But I can't even think of another show because I feel like Scrubs just dominates that entire, brain space of early 2000s comedy sitcom, right? I mean, there really was nothing else.
I was trying to think. You had brought up an interesting point about maybe why kids our age enjoyed it so much. And you had talked about how Doug, the cartoon from...
Yes.
How both Doug and JD kind of...
the inner monologue, right?
Yeah, the inner monologue and kind of the weird, super weird flashbacks that I think everybody probably has. Like, what if I'm in this situation? Like if when there's a big Powerball, I can't tell you how many times coworkers have had the discussion like, what house would I buy? Well, right, I gotta buy the house for you. The games you play in your own mind and things like that. And Doug Funny and JD, I don't even remember. Oh, John Doran. And anyway, they both play that game, and it's kind of an interesting take. Like everybody kind of has this inner running monologue, so that was cool in itself. Who would be your favorite character?
Janitor.
Ooh, whoa!
Like hands down, Neil Flynn. Oh my God, yeah.
Biggest. Well, why? Biggest laughs or just the best story arcs?
I think the mystery behind him is really fascinating, but also just like so random. Like I remember, God, one of my favorite like back and forth between him and JD is that episode where everyone's really into the war in Iraq, and JD like didn't know anything about it, and like patients were like not being cared for because everyone's arguing. So JD decides to like learn about Iraq, but like right around the time when everyone else decides to not talk about it. And the janitor he's like, oh, you've been studying, and JD's like, yeah, quiz me on anything. He's like, okay, we'll point to Iraq, and he like pulls a globe out of his cart and he points to like China, and he's like, that's China, and JD just goes, you're China. and Neil Flynn's like, what an outrageous accusation.
Yeah,
it was just such a small thing, but like, I remember it so well. And I don't know, man. I think he's hilarious. Just like everything's super far to left field. Like he puts the blue Gatorade in the Windex bottle and just like sprays it in his mouth. Like that's totally something that I would do just to like freak my mom out. So
right.
I feel like I relate to him. Like he does things like for shock value, and I don't know, dude. He's awesome.
I think if you had to rank biggest laughs in the show, it would. I think for me the first would have to go to the Todd. Just because he's only sprinkled in so like just enough, you know what I mean, to I don't know, the high five thing, to me he packs the biggest punch just because you hear from him the least. Maybe Janitor might be number two, but no, I think it was an appropriate mix of slapstick and everything and all that. I guess the reason I wanted to do a Scrubs episode was to ask you whether or not. Well, I guess I have two more questions for you. When should the season have ended? Because granted, they went on to a season 9 where they went to med school, and Zach Braff had to teach the younger Dave Franco how to do medicine and not be a douche, or the character that is, and that perhaps should not have occurred that whole season, but. And then I wanted to ask you whether or not JD and Elliot should have even gotten together, Tom.
Well, unpopular opinion time. I really enjoyed, maybe not quite as much. Were there 2 seasons of Med School or just 1?
I think just 1.
Oh, you know what? So the other characters, like Joe and Aziz's character, they were all introduced the season before the last. Is that right?
I don't know. Yeah, there was a season 8 where Aziz was there. I forgot he was in that. And then, maybe season 9 was the Med School, and a lot of people weren't there, like Carla, and maybe Dr. Cox was there, but no Elliot, no Carla.
And no JD, right? Or no.
JD was there.
He was like missing for a lot of it, though, wasn't he?
Well, they tried to like pass the torch on to a blonde-haired female protagonist who had an inner monologue, and they made JD and Turk's bromance like pretty. Like they turned up the. I don't know. They definitely milked the Eagles and all the stuff, and JD shows up with. They're rooting for the university's football team, and he shows up dressed like a very feminine owl. It's like, okay, maybe we're playing to the extreme. Like, a character's arc can only go so far. It's like, how borderline homosexual can we make JD without... and I don't know. It just like, there was the end... I forget if it was season 6 or season 7. And, they had a medieval episode where...
Yes.
Dr. Cox is telling, I think he's trying to get his son Jack to go to bed, and he's telling a fake story that also kind of reflects whether or not JD and Elliot were going to get together, and then they looked at each other and they don't. And I remember thinking that was such a logical conclusion because it was such an imaginative episode to begin with and sewed a lot of things together. But I think they came back and just did it again. And then I think there was a season 8 after that. I could be wrong here. It might be worth looking up, but they came back for 8, which was on ABC, where Braff had a beard, and it was just different. They were like older, I guess. Not a bad season, all things considered, but yes. And then season 9 was pretty much a train wreck.
So I think I confused season 8 with season 9 because they did introduce Joe and. I don't think the blonde girl
there was a season
there
8 on ABC where the lighting was noticeably more dim, I feel like. And that was Aziz, and that was the girl from Happy Endings, and, oh gosh, just a bunch of other decently large names when they were still kind of young, I guess.
Right. So I really like that season, mostly because...
Yeah, I think season 8 is justifiable to have existed.
Right. Like, a lot of the reason because I love Eliza Coupe.
Is she the
Joe?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Big fan of her. She's been in some really good movies since then, like some really awesome.
Yeah, there was
indie movies.
What was that show with the friends were in Chicago? It wasn't Happy Endings. It might have. Gosh,
was
darn.
it with
it was her,
Jake?
Her and one of the Wayans' sons. It was like a second generation Wayans comedian.
I don't know.
Her. The guy from Mindy, and anyway, gosh, that show only had like 3 seasons, but it was quite good.
Oh, it was a show, okay. She was in a movie called The Last Time You Had Fun with the waitress from It's Always Sunny. Oh, God, who were the guys in that? And Dimitri Martin was in it. Really good. I'd recommend that for sure. She did a really good job. So, yeah, I like season 8 a lot. Season 9, I forget the girl's name, the like new JD girl who was dating Dave Franco.
Right.
She bothered me to like no end.
It was tough. It was all around tough. And I think she was handed a losing hand. I mean, you go from the janitor, you're China, to, I don't know.
And janitor wasn't even there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. When like shows like Malcolm in the Middle and stuff are firing on all cylinders and Scrubs, I mean, there can be a Carla episode that's still very funny, and without an escape from Eagle and the bromance between JD and Turk, and just at that point milking something until it's dead. or trying to milk something that's already dead, I guess. It just gets kind of brutal, I guess. Like there'd be a Malcolm in the Middle episode when they were in its peak where Dewey would be really good at a game Hal liked, and the whole episode was just you started to learn that Dewey might be a genius and might be smarter than Malcolm, but he just never gets any attention at all. Like he'll have a birthday party and be like, I don't expect anything, and yet you still disappoint me. Just I don't know, just weirdly hilarious side like. Just it's like you can feel the show's in its peak, and you just never want it to leave that.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, I feel like maybe seasons 3 through 5 were that for the Scrubs. There's like the He's About to Turn 30 episode, and the Wizard of Oz episode, and
so good.
It really freaking is. And the Michael J. Fox stops by, and they do the roof toilet episode. Some pretty good stuff, I guess.
So I own season 6 on DVD, and that was before Netflix was around. So I think that I certainly remember that season more. But I think season 5, the end of season 5 is when all the patients die from like rabies or something, right? And like
the really sad one.
And
yeah, I had a roommate in college whose
life.
critique of the show was it always ended sad.
Yeah.
And whenever we were watching it together, I wish I would write down all the episodes that didn't because I wanted to prove them wrong. But whenever we watched it together, that was the case. And I was like, God.
So I remember crying to that episode every time, right? And then you had episodes like The Musical, which was hands down one of my favorite episodes.
That was good. The Musical
6
was like, to me, a worse version. Well, it depends how you view it. But to me, I liked, again, screwball, zany, I don't care. I think it was a very brilliant mix of slapstick and clever writing. But when they did the fake sitcom episode where like all the women wore push-up bras and like really revealing outfits for a hospital, and there was like a laugh track, and then when they went to the real life thing, people were actually just dying and stuff. And, one of the writers of Cheers, I think, was one of the patients, and he was like, better, I feel,
Right, yeah.
I thought that was really good, and I think the musical episode came after that, but...
So, yeah, not to not answer your question about season 9, but they definitely had... The thing that I loved about the show is they... I don't know if you'd call it, like, taking a chance, but they had, like... themed episodes, like you said, the Ren Fair one, the old sitcom where like the lighting is just so bright, they did the musical, they've done all different, like the Wizard of Oz, and those are all like the best episodes, like the most memorable. And I don't really, again, I don't watch too many like new shows, but I don't really know many other shows that have done things like that, like keep going with the same storyline but with like a whole different theme to it. I think that's really, really awesome, and it's something kind of like daring, because I can imagine that being polarizing for some people. But I guess to get back to the original question that I kind of danced around, season 9, not the biggest fan, but I'm not upset that it's there. Like I'll still watch it. It's not something that I would avoid. But like I guess
I'm in the camp that if we're talking about The Office, episodes with new Dwight and new Jim should just have never happened.
Right.
Like, I don't think I'm totally on board with the BBC, like, only 6 episodes to a season, maybe 3 seasons of a, you know what I mean? Like there's probably only legit 12 episodes of Sherlock out there, the BBC version, right?
Right, yeah.
I want more from, like the
So
original
much
Office
more.
was 2 seasons, and there's a Christmas episode at the end of the second, and then it's over.
Never watched it.
There were probably 6 or 7 really good seasons of The Office, and then new Jim and new Dwight. I just like, again, I was trying to milk something that was already dead or beating a dead horse, whatever the fuck the saying is. I keep getting it wrong, but
Jump the
I
shark.
just was wondering if is 8. I guess you answered the question. You were saying 8 was worth having.
Definitely, I loved it. Aziz was so funny.
Yeah, that was kind of I don't know if you'd call that a coming out party. I forget what his. It was just a good collection of,
I don't think that's the
talent.
meaning of coming out party, but...
Oh, yeah, I guess I don't know what the meaning of the saying is either, but just kind of like if someone has a good game in baseball, I've heard announcers say that, like if a young player as the best game of his career so far. They're like, well, this has been a coming out party for Bradley Zimmer of the Cleveland Indians. A double and a home run tonight and several slick plays in the field. Everyone got to this. It's like a display of all their skills.
How many RBIs?
Several, my good friend. No, that's just an example. Like,
right, yeah.
So I forget where Aziz really, what show or movie you would call his coming out party, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
But yeah, him and Eliza Goop, and there was just a decent collection. I think there's a reason. Parks and Rec is probably, maybe this is a bad hot take, but is better than 30 Rock just because it has a little more heart and more lovable. Like the love is spread a little further with more characters you can relate to and love and things like that. Probably season 8 of Scrubs is why it was still good at that point because they had landed on a few decent new stars and then for some reason they derailed that and went in a totally different direction for season 9, but 9 seasons of anything is quite a lot.
That's an awful lot, man.
Well, it's tough. I mean, The Simpsons are what, 30 seasons? More than 30 seasons now?
Never watched that either.
Oh, well, we won't touch that. I'll let that one slide. But, the episode setup is they can go on any adventure they want on any given episode, right? So there's no real storyline.
Right, yeah.
I guess a show that has a set storyline, you can really only go so far. I mean, only so many characters can hook up. Only so many characters can have kids. Only so many, you know what I mean?
Right.
Only so many new neighbors or girlfriends or whatever, So, I don't know. I'm just thinking it probably went on too long, but.
Yeah, perhaps.
You have not answered whether or not you think, the JD Elliot Will They Won't They. I mean, it was definitely a Will They Won't They show in the same vein as Friends, I guess. I don't know if that's simplifying the issue too much, but.
Well, okay, so I am a huge sucker for romantic comedies, rom-coms, as the cool kids call them. I feel like I always root for the main love interest. I'm like Master of None, right? Season 2, just watched that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, very good.
And sexual tension's out of control. And of course you want it to happen. And I feel like
when he rides home in the cab.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
I
thought for sure he was going to turn back.
Right. Such a long shot. I love it.
You just mentioning it now has me not angry, but just my blood pressure, I feel like, has probably risen.
I know. So
because a lot of us have been there, right? Like, was that it? Was that the fucking thing? And then the text comes and you're like, oh, fuck.
So I feel like in any very successful movie or TV show, the ending is usually not the people that you want to be together are together, or it leaves it ambiguous to a point where it cuts to black and you're like, oh, what happened? Did they finally kiss or whatever? And I feel like most shows are like that. And I feel like maybe Scrubs should have been that way because of their whole history. I mean, was it Demi Moore that was in the middle of that? Is that who it was?
Several people. I know the girl from the American Pie movies actually. Oh gosh, I don't even know her name anymore. Tara. No. You gotta help me out here, Tom. Who was that?
The character name?
No, the actress.
Oh, I've never seen American Pie. I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh God. We'll put it in the show notes or something, man. I am embarrassed.
Was she a main girl in American Pie?
She was I think in the early 2000s, like a sex symbol. I think you could probably have addressed her as such at the time. Anyway, what I was going to say is...
Oh my God. American Pie, Tara Reid.
Yeah. Wait, I can't believe I got Tara and that didn't help pull it. Anyway. Yeah, she ends up being Cox's wife's sister, Jordan's sister.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a whole
who
story
that
arc.
is.
And then their brother's Brendan Fraser. I think an important point to make might be that this was before television got incredible, like before the golden age. You know what I mean? Like the past, 5 years? Is that when did it start? Like, would it have been season 1 of Mad Men was really when, like, when was the I don't know. I feel like this is before television got great again, or if it was great, I'm not sure it ever was, but I've seen a few critics tweet, like, are you guys realize that this is the best television that's ever existed on so many different networks, on so many different channels, on so many different online options? You know, Mad Men, Fargo, Master of None, you know, I mean, I guess you name it, but this was kind of still, I guess it would have started when it was still kind of a 3-network situation, right? And there was only so many shows that were going to happen, and then there was the fall this and the this and that and the rerun season, I guess maybe I'm trying to make excuses for it when I don't know.
Let me really quickly correct myself. I said Demi Moore. I think Mandy Moore was JD's.
Yes, she played Julie. I
yes.
think. And I know that because there was a Fountain of Wayne song.
Yes, man. I love that song, and the Wonder Years covered it.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool.
Super cool. Of all the people in the show...
Mandy, okay, this might be the most defining moment of Gen Y, and I say this jokingly, but Mandy Moore guest starring on Scrubs, and a song in the episode was written by Fountains of Wayne. And... That's probably it in a nutshell, right? Our whole what we brought to culture was pretty much that.
I think if anyone should have been together, somehow she would come back around because they were perfect for each other. She just didn't want to.
Yeah, he just didn't like her laugh. Or no, she said,
"That's so funny,
dude." Okay, so for me personally, Scrubs was fucked up just because, you know, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, like. There was that psych test in AP Psych that Mr. Taylor used to give us where he'd hand out the papers and it described a really generic person.
Right.
And everyone would sign the paper and say, sign this if you think this describes you.
Right.
And everyone did. And he's like, it's the same shit. You're all fucking dumb. And we'd be like, oh, no, I am dumb. And now I feel stupid. I feel dumb and stupid. Now I'm redundant. No, but, you know, when you see Scrubs, you're like, oh, shit, I am JD. And then after a while, you're like, JD's a fucking sociopath. And there's a moment when Elliot, for no fucking reason, breaks up with the SeaWorld dude who's as weird as her and perfect for her. And she's like, you're all mine, Dr. Dorian, or I'm all yours, or whatever the fuck. And they're at home watching pizza, the famous line, like, I'd rather sit home watching pizza with you any night if I had a choice between X and Y, blah, blah, blah. And then there's that snapshot where he's like, his inner monologue is like, oh my God, I don't want her. And it's like, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah,
I don't know. To me, it's like the series that have ended there. It's like, spoiler alert, they're both brutally awful and they either deserve each other. So that's where I come on that whole debate is either they deserve each other because they're both insufferable. And again, maybe they're only insufferable and nobody's meant to think about it in this way because it's a screwball comedy. But, they're the worst, and I don't even care after a while. Like, when he's on the couch, like, I don't want her and this and that. It's like, oh, fuck you, you know. Tara Reid is like, everybody knows John Dorian only wants what he can't have, blah, blah, blah. And after a while, it was like, man, I got to stop comparing myself to JD because we're nothing alike. And, he ruins it with Mandy Moore because she says that's so funny and doesn't laugh at stuff. And, like, I can imagine, hundreds of people our age at some point were like, oh my God, I hate the little stuff that some girls do, certain things. JD, oh my God, we're so alike, you know. The AP Psych test effect or something like that. But after a while, it was like, wow, this guy's a douche, and fuck this show. No, just kidding. It's the best show ever, but.
Yeah, so I honestly, again, I'm always the one rooting for, who you think it's going to be, but I feel like maybe they shouldn't have been together. Like,
yeah,
Kim,
dude.
I mean, Kim
Elliot
was
should have been
awesome, dude. But
which one was Kim? Oh, yeah.
But she did
he
lie
legitimately
about the pregnancy.
procreated with Elizabeth Banks, who is, by all accounts, my celebrity crush.
She's pretty killer. I'm a fan.
She was probably my first celebrity crush, right? I mean, coming up, would have been in high school, I guess, at this point. I think when season 8 aired, we were still in high school, maybe, but
I don't know. Well,
maybe early college.
2009, we would have just been graduating high school.
Okay, so yeah, Elizabeth Banks was mid high school. It was just like, oh yeah, do it, JD. Like, like you finally don't need Elliot and let me rephrase that. You finally have stopped totally just fucking with Elliot's life, with your bullshit, like needing her and then not wanting her, like being truly unfair to another person. And, I don't know. And then when Kim steps out and shows her belly at the conference behind the podium, and he's like, oh shit, it's like, grow up. What are you, like 34 at this point? Like,
well,
you're a douchebag.
She said that she miscarried, and clearly she didn't. I would have lost.
Yeah, but I mean, would you want JD
mind.
in the state he's in to be your partner? Like at some point, the hijinks and the, like slapstickness of his existence is not fit for fatherhood, right? Like literally at that same conference, they befriend the dude that says bust a move. And then like they hang with him for the next day. And then they get pissed at him and kick him to the curb. Like not only if I'm the dude that says bust a move, if I'd be pissed at him, but if I'm Elizabeth Banks, I can't knock her for that. He literally bought a scooter instead of, I don't know.
Yeah. Valid points.
I'm trying to think whether or not Elliot is on the same douchiness level as JD, but I can't tell. She had one of those weird childhoods that wasn't like overtly tough because of the Connecticut thing, but one of those like weird Guantanamo level psycho, constant beatdown from the mother type. You know what I mean? Like given every opportunity, but reminded every second of every day what the flaws were by the mom and stuff like that. So
right,
she definitely had it worse and weirder than JD did, I guess. I don't know.
I was so into her in high school. I mean, everyone was, right?
Yeah, I mean, oh man, I don't know. It was weird. It was definitely weird seeing that actress in How I Met Your Mother, and then probably my favorite thing of hers is when she voices the wife in Rick and Morty. Now that I think about it.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I don't know. I remember her being definitely a crush a lot of the people in our high school had.
Well, okay, so I think it would have made for a better show if they weren't together, because I mean, she's crazy, but I think it's like stuff maybe she can't quite help. I think JD's just a piece of shit.
I think at the end of the day, that's fair to say, yeah. A good vehicle for comedy? Sure. Somebody you would want to have in your life? Perhaps not. Perhaps not. Turk, very good, very awesome.
Oh my God, such a good dancer. I tweeted at him. I tweeted at him sometime last year because I love the episode with the air band, and he lip syncs.
Okay, the airband episode might be the best episode now that you bring it up.
It's so good.
It's so fucking good. I still do Cool Cats. You know what I mean? Like, just little stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, the beauty of Scrubs was in the little stuff. That if you can't appreciate it, that's fine. I mean, everybody has their favorite things. It doesn't fucking matter. We're just doing this for fun. Everyone's trying their hardest, whatever the fuck. But that little stuff, the way he, just like the janitor recruiting him to the band and being like, I don't know what it is, but he's got it. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna be trouble. I know, but he's so damn talented. Like, just that give and take over recruiting a hospital air band to compete with a different air band that the lawyer. Oh, I forgot about Ted.
Yeah.
Ted might be number 3 on the laughs list. Maybe Turk. I don't know, dude. It's tough. On the secondary characters laugh list, janitor, Todd, Ted.
And it's good that it is that hard because that means it's a funny goddamn show.
Yeah, this is true. And then, he puts up the sign, no air banding, and he's like, I gotta be true to the Cool Cats, and they get in some goofy ass trouble. Like, could you imagine being their boss? Like, what the fuck? Stop air banding. Like, there's literally sick people. This is a fucking hospital. Like, I have to put up a sign that says, please do not air band, like, while on the clock. But then they do Journey. Right. Oh, God. Oh, man. Probably my favorite scene, or one of my favorite scenes is just JD trying to get Turk into the band Journey during that episode. And just a small town girl living in a lonely world. Like, there was a part of JD's character that started motioning the level of notes he was singing with his hand. It happens 2 or 3 times. Like, lonely world. anywhere. Anyway.
Well, Turk, so when he was auditioning with That Girl Is Poison, and he's doing that like pop and lock dance.
Belle Biv DeVoe.
I was tweeting at him for several days, like, how much do I have to pay you to teach me how to pop and lock? Like, seriously, like, I want to take dance lessons from you. I'm not even kidding.
Right.
But also, so when they are, it wasn't Europe. Oh God, More Than a Feeling. Is that Journey? Boston. Okay. So when they're doing that song, everything that they do is so perfect. Even to
it's so fucking funny.
When Ted does the guitar solo.
Yeah, and he looks so sweaty and concerned. Like, my only purpose in life is to nail this solo.
And he even presses the overdrive pedal before the solo. It's like, I know. Good, dude. And like the face he makes when he does the little trills, he's like, like that weird smile on his face.
Yeah. I forgot about the pedal. Yeah, I guess it was kind of nice because I feel like we tried to do that in high school a little bit. Was we throw techno dance parties in gym class?
Oh my God!
I don't know. If nothing else, the show was a reminder not to take things too seriously, or like if you want to airband, but also be so detailed with it that you hit the pedal before you solo, then you. I don't know. Just living in that frame of mind was. I don't know. It's just a nice thing to witness. I know they weren't the first to do screwball comedy or anything like that, but just the path they went down was super delightful.
And for the listeners, in ninth grade, we convinced our gym teacher, Mr. Betker, to let me bring in these little portable speakers and have techno dance parties in the bleachers in lieu of like exercising because we were dancing so hard. We probably worked out harder than anyone else in gym class.
We probably did, just to prove a point.
So we would just dance.
I think he loved us, like, because we weren't there to like, I think he was had his guard up because so many people had been like, "Oh, I'm not feeling well today." Oh,
right,
you know, so many people had like tried to take advantage of his kindness. We were like, "No, Mr. Becker, easy there, guy. We're gonna throw it down." You know, and he's like, "All right, fine." And then we did it, and danced for like an hour and probably burned 700 calories or something. And he was like, "Wow, you guys really did it." And he even let us leave school to go sledding for a gym class and stuff like that. Like, I think like once we earned his trust, he let us run wild with it a little bit. So anyway, I don't know if I would credit that all to Scrubs. Maybe I'm editorializing because this is the Scrubs episode, but I just living in a world where you take something like that seriously because you just want to have fun, I guess. Which is just kind of a nice thing.
I remember, so our friend Seth, he was one of like my best friends through high school. We lived like right around the corner from each other. He was in our techno dance parties. And if you remember, every Halloween, or I guess sophomore through senior year, all of our friends dressed up with a similar theme every year. And that theme was aviator sunglasses.
Usually involved short shorts.
And extremely short shorts. So God, junior year, we were
80s joggers, lifeguards,
and the
policemen.
So junior year, we were lifeguards. Seth and he came over to my house, and we made T-shirts that had like the red plus sign on the front that we made with Sharpie.
Yeah.
And on the back, I wrote Vanilla Bear, and he wrote Chocolate Bear.
Oh,
because
nice.
I have blonde hair and he had like really dark brown hair. So like we called each other.
He had the perfect straight scene hair.
He did, man.
Like,
with the little blonde.
It grew out into. Oh, God.
So, I mean, we legitimately called each other Vanilla and Chocolate Bear. Like, we were in German class together and we wrote a book called Der einsame Vogel, which is the loneliest bird. And it was like, he was this really emo bird and he made a friend. And I think we even referred to each other as Chocolate and Vanilla Bear in this German book that we wrote and made together.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, Scrubs was like, and to this day remains like one of my favorite shows. It's, if I'm looking just for like something to watch, like Megan and I have our shows that we watch like together, you know. And if I'm trying to watch something on my own, it's either It's Always Sunny or Scrubs. But I I feel like It's Always Sunny I'll watch when I'm kind of like on my phone doing other stuff. But if I watch Scrubs, I watch it, you know? Yeah, one of my favorite shows ever. And
yeah, I think if we, maybe I kind of want to do a tournament of what were the best shows of the are the aughts, the zeros, or the tens?
I have no idea.
But from 2001 to 2010, right?
Huh.
I wonder, it would be The Office and The Scrubs would be two of the higher seats, I'd imagine.
Even if it's not an episode, we should make a bracket anyway. You know what?
Yeah.
That will be a really good idea for content marketing. We'll make a bracket and have people vote on it.
Okay, so Breaking Bad airs from 2008 to 2013. You know, there's Arrested Development, The Wire, 30 Rock, The Office.
My God.
Yeah, yeah. Oof. Well, their episode about Snoopy and Charlie Brown were like, that's might be the best episode of television ever created. I never got into West Wing. People like West Wing. There's Freaks and Geeks. Always Sunny. South Park has been just a player, a main player in the game.
So how to? Okay, we're gonna do this, right? We need tweet at us at _reminiscent FM. You can find us on Facebook as well.
Who deserves to be in the bracket?
Who deserves to be in the bracket? We'll start there, and I feel like maybe every week we can narrow it down.
Malcolm in the Middle.
God, there's so much.
Like, so we got to say, like, if it started before 2000, does it still count? Or does just its, like, primary years have to be? Like, does Breaking Bad, is it eligible? Because it ended in 2013.
I think what we're going to have to do...
But it started in 2008.
We're going to have to establish rules for what counts. And I think it's either going to be, like, if it started or...
Like, is House a 4 seed or something? Yeah. You know what I mean?
So I think it would have to be like if it starts or ends
Futurama's
in
on that list.
2001 to 2010, and maybe more than half of its run was inside of that timeline. Like, would
I like that?
Yeah?
I like that.
Ooh, I got to take notes.
But I mean, like, I'm not going to vote for 24, but a lot of people like 24.
I've never
no reality shows. I'm guessing. Is that
no
fair?
Reality shows? Pfft, oh my God.
Friends ran till 2004, but that's definitely not a 2000 show.
No.
I'm guessing the later years weren't the prime anyhow. Lost, Weeds. I never got into Weeds, but I do think Mary Louise Parker is my real celebrity crush. Sorry, Elizabeth Banks. Like, so Modern Family started in 2009. That doesn't count, right?
No, I guess because...
And shows like The Simpsons and Saturday Night Live that have been running before and will run well after.
Because, I mean, I'm looking for stuff that's like tied to that time. Like,
I would say
South Park, you know?
If it started in 2007, it might be out. If it started in 2006, I'm interested. Never watched Firefly. Family Guy started in 99, so that's probably the wheelhouse. How I Met Your Mother is in the mix. Always Sunny is in the mix. Curb Your Enthusiasm falls right in there. Oh, this is going to be an interesting bracket. Tweet us what you think, and we'll make a rankings up. 30 Rock is eligible. The Office is eligible. Doesn't have to be comedy. Doesn't have to be comedy by any means. But basically, we will fix it so that Scrubs wins. So your participation won't really matter, but you know we want to hear what you have to say. Parks and Rec started in 2009, so it does not count.
Oh, okay.
Which is probably good because it would have derailed
a lot of.
Now, Arrested Development is good but it wasn't as good for as long as Scrubs was, and we can talk about this more later when the bracket gets set up. But I guess if we start to become the Gen Y, sometimes Y podcast or whatever, we'll have to start defining some. We'll have to start at least attempting to define what was important about that time.
Right.
You know, the time, right? So anywhere from 98 to 2000 and whatever the you know. Anyhow, this will be an interesting experiment. And Tom, you have probably like 100 movies you need to watch in the meantime to catch up.
Well, we're talking TV shows, right? Not movies.
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what we get to here.
No, you got to keep.
I'm just saying there's not like there's no finite amount of episodes we plan to do. You could be a different person by the time this whole thing ends. You could be like, I'm 36 now, big time movie buff. I'm like, huh, that's a crazy swing for you. That's a crazy character arc for my buddy Tom there. But
yeah, I'm really into that. I feel like there's so many things about Scrubs that I wanted to talk about. I feel like maybe not a part 2 of this episode, but we're gonna have to come back to it.
Well, I'll just start now, and let's just riff until the episode's over. One of my favorite I'll do 2 things that I like a lot. Just random scenes, just stuff that sticks with you. There's one where JD's being cute with, I think, maybe Mandy Moore, or him and Elliot are just together for the first time, and they're like arm wrestling, and he's like, oh, you let me win, you know? And then Carla and Turk are recently married, and Turk just slams Carla's hand to the table. He's like, do you see what you get, Carla? Do you see what you get when you mess with the warrior? And it's just like, that shit killed me. Absolutely fucking killed me. And then when they're doing the proudest moment in medicine episode, and Todd is like, I know mine. And he's like, we're losing. He's like, prop his hand up. What? I said, prop his hand up. And he goes, he pulls the glove off the hand. He goes, and he's like, it's like, that's right. The Miracle 5. I'm just like, what the is going on? I don't know. There's so many. Those are just 2 like moments that definitely stuck with me. Kind of like your China.
Right. What's funny is I Googled Scrubs Your China, and there are so many Google results on that. Apparently it struck a chord with a lot of other people as well. I
mean, there's probably a YouTube clip for every single Scrubs thing you can possibly Google, right?
So
I mean, there are compilations just dedicated to how many times Dr. Cox calls
Emma Girl's name,
Braff,
right?
Yeah. Lindsay, no. Oh, God. I already used it.
Right.
You know, I tweeted at, this is just a random thing. I used to tweet at Bill Lawrence when I would live in Albuquerque and get drunk and watch Scrubs, which was three times over. And he's talked to me a little bit about it.
What?
Just in passing. Yeah, he tweets back at me sometimes.
God.
Just because it was validation as a fan, just because, like, I was bringing up points I think that he felt worth addressing.
Right.
Like his new show, Undateable, on NBC. I don't think it's on the air anymore, but he recycled the line where JD's like, if it came between anything else and staying home and eating pizza with you, I'd go pizza every time, or something like that. And I tweeted, I'm like, interesting. Like, he's like, he said it was like an homage to Scrubs fans, and I thought it was just kind of a lazy piece of writing myself.
Right,
but he tweeted at me. I was like, yeah, dude. And, you know, we were just talking about this and that. Maybe only 2 other times he responded. But he's married to Krista Miller, who is Jordan in the show.
Huh.
And he is in the show a couple times, most notably probably in the last scene where he plays one of the janitors at the hospital that says goodbye to Zach Braff when he's leaving the hospital for the last time. Maybe that was season 8
Season
or something.
8, yeah. That was another...
When he's walking down the hallway and all the memories and whatnot.
Right, and like he closes the door and the heart is like right on him. Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, that fucking good. Oh, here's another scene. And again, feel free to spit these out as we're kind of riffing for this episode to end. The Kung Fu fighting scene.
Oh my God,
very
dude.
important. Very, very fucking important. Dr. Wynn. Yeah, anyway.
Betrayal 5?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's how it ends. Him and Todd fight off this like army of, I guess it would have been a joke you would make in this decade.
Ninjas.
But they were all the Asian residents, and it was supposed to be this like army of ninjas, which I guess there would have been a Huffington Post think piece about the race in that scene, which perhaps understandably so, but as weird as it is to say 2004 was a very different time than 2014 and 1994, I think that's probably fair. Anyhow, him and Todd fight off this army to the sound of Carl, whatever the his name is kung fu fighting. And at the end, and you know, Turk's hamming it up like, oh! And come on, Todd, come over here. We're fighting these guys now. And anyway, Todd's like, oh, all right, man. You got the briefcase? Cool. Betrayal 5. And he cuts his whole arm off and just walks away. But very good. Very good.
So I was dating this girl back in like 2010, 2011 maybe. And She was a pretty cool girl, but she was like, "Hey,
Steph?
huh?"
Was it
No,
Steph?
this girl Shelby. It was a short-lived thing. It was a little winter fling, I guess. She just stopped talking to me one day, but so she was staying over at my place, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to watch Scrubs?" And I was like, "Oh my God, marry me," right? So I was like, "Oh, you know what? I want to play like my favorite episode for you." And she's like, "Okay." And I put on the musical because it has the Guy Love song in it, right? I mean, it's so funny. And
I mean, would the movie "I Love You, Man" have happened without the Guy Love song?
I saw that,
right? I mean, like,
forget.
was there like a macho-ness of the '90s we weren't aware of, or was that always around? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I guess I'm trying to pick at points, and I guess this is a half-baked idea for an episode that we did together, but I'm trying to think of like what Scrubs provided or set the tone for, for all the funniness we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted your story.
So I put on the musical episode, and like, just a super brief history. I grew up in the musical theater. That's where my parents met. I did several shows. I went to the theater like every night with my mom because she was always doing shows, and I didn't want to stay home with my stepdad. So like, I literally grew up like in the light booth of a musical theater. So I'm not someone who still like dies to go to the musicals. I don't really care too much, but like I have an appreciation for it, right? So I put on the musical episode, which is written by the writers of Avenue Q, which is like a super crude like puppet Broadway musical.
Yeah, I think they helped Matt Stone and Trey Parker write Book of Mormon.
Makes sense. So I put this episode on. She's like, "Oh, I hate musicals. Can we like watch something different?" And I was like, dude, like it really bummed me out, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cold. It's like
didn't even give it a second.
Yeah, well, at least you knew. Like, I guess we're not getting it
right.
So.
But
that was her Mandy Moore. That's so funny.
Right.
Like, I don't really do musicals. It's like, well,
I'm like, well, good thing it's
like,
Scrubs. Like it's not.
Like, you don't do musicals. You know how big.
It's not Les Mis or anything. Oh my God.
Right, but I mean, like, I don't do musicals. Like, it's a pretty large slice of American culture you're just not acknowledging.
Well, it's not
like,
even that,
rough.
dude. Like, if I took her to like Fiddler on the Roof, I can understand being like, dude, like seriously. But like, it's Scrubs, dude.
Fiddler on the Roof is dope.
Well, no. I'm not saying it was awful, but like, I mean, I didn't love it.
No, I'm trying to be like, I don't do musicals. What are you talking about? Musicals are crucial.
Well,
right?
I mean,
like,
it just, of course, but that aside, it's Scrubs. It's it's hardly like,
right.
A traditional American musical. Like,
right.
give it a chance.
I see what you're saying. Like, hey, I got tickets for an off-Broadway production of Guys and Dolls. Like, maybe not on a Tuesday. Like, sure, understandable. But yeah, like, do you want to watch this this Netflix episode that happens to be musically themed?
Right. So I was a little bummed out by that, but
but with that said, you should find someone that wants to see Guys and Dolls with you.
So
dope soundtrack, by the way.
Can I say that I do not like Jordan's character in the show?
I don't think she's supposed to be well liked.
I don't like her acting style either. I think is what...
I went back and watched a few episodes of the Drew Carey Show to see what she was like before I moved to Cleveland, just to see if I could get any insight. I don't think I did, other than the fact that they were drinking Great Lakes beer back in the 90s. So,
okay.
Say what you want to say. I mean, it was a very specific role. I don't know. She was just the ball busting.
Right. One of my favorite janitor moments, I think it was season 8 when Dr. Cox becomes chief of medicine and he's like putting the painting on the wall, Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Maybe. I don't know. Keep going. I don't have enough details
So
yet.
the janitor spends like an entire day hanging this painting on the wall, and he's just like pounding on the wall. And Dr. Cox is like, "Oh my God, like you're being so obnoxious. I can pound stuff too." So he starts hitting his desk, and the janitor hits the wall, and he's making this face at Dr. Cox. as he's just like repeatedly smashing the wall with his hammer. I gotta send you the clip because I mean, just his face. Like there has to be a gif of just his face, and it's like that is like. I feel like just that gif alone of him like sums up the janitor's entire character of like he's just trying to be annoying to get a rise out of someone, smashing holes in the wall.
I mean, he fakes having his own twin. He tries to hide the fact that he was actually in the movie The Fugitive, which was a weird way to break the fourth wall for that show, I thought.
Wait, what?
Like, there's an episode where Zach Braff in this fictional world watches The Fugitive, a very real movie, and sees the janitor. And Neil Flynn was actually in The Fugitive.
Oh.
He's just a cop in it that's like, freeze to Harrison Ford, and he doesn't freeze, obviously. But in the fictional world, Zach Braff is like, or JD says to the janitor, like, holy shit, were you in The Fugitive? And, you know, it's like this weird, important episode for the janitor's character because he's just like, it explains why he is so whimsical, I guess, right? You know, and for a moment of weakness, he was like, JD, like, I just wanted to blah, 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 blah. He's like, but if you tell anybody, I will actually fucking kill you. And he's like, yeah, okay. He's like, I guess, you know, because JD wanted to have a reason in that episode, like, are you a psychopath? Or like, why do you get off on, I wish there was just a reason other than you being, I don't know, the torture you put on people and things like that. And it kind of helped JD understand why, you know, because he was like a failed Hollywood washout that only peaked as an offshoot cop in this 80s action movie. But yeah, it was weird. It was weird for them to like choose to pick that bit of reality to be associated with, other than Sugar Hill Gang alarm clocks and things like that.
I thought the fourth wall just meant like when they addressed the audience, or
yeah, I might be using it wrong. But to me, there was like a strain of reality.
Right, right.
Yeah, you're right. I think I misspoke, and I apologize for that. But to me, it was like the characters in the show relating to the viewer.
Gotcha.
Like, oh shit, are you that dude in The Fugitive? Like, wait, they're not supposed to live in this universe. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
This is just this magical place in some hospital anywhere USA.
Do you want to get into highlights of the week and songs and stuff this week?
You know, I didn't listen to yours, and I don't have one to recommend, so we could maybe table that, I guess.
Well, I have an amazing highlight this week, so I want to get to that.
Lay it on me, brother.
And I'm gonna pretend to be you for a week. I'm gonna recommend something other than this song. So.
All right. Well, now you have to stop crushing me in the show notes, like Pat, the fucking
Pat's thing with no rules of the
laissez-faire
week.
bullshit, anti-establishment. I'm not gonna pick a fucking song this week. I'm just trying to recommend things I enjoy. All right. And again, it is a ripped idea from Michael Ian Black's podcast, How to Be Amazing. Granted, but you know, to me, it should be what you're digging that week. But now that you're doing it, kindly off.
So, okay, to sum up, well, first of all, we need to get a bracket filled out for early 2000s TV shows. Yeah, so let's do that. Let's get that on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Again, @_reminiscent_FM. So yeah, but yeah, Scrubs, one of the greatest shows ever. Like I said, I have a lot of other things to talk about. We're reaching 70 minutes at this point. If it wasn't already 1 o'clock where you are, maybe I'd want to keep going.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna ring Jesse in a few minutes here.
Sure. So lots to be said about Scrubs. We'll probably come back. Let us know your favorite character, favorite scenes, favorite moments. Does JD deserve Elliot, and does Elliot deserve JD? Yeah, let us know. And for this week's highlight of the week, Megan has been struggling with, I mean, we've both been struggling financially, you know. She just had more money saved than I did, and she was getting close to the end of it, and we are both struggling to figure out like how to make more money. She doesn't have time for a second job because she's doing a bunch of herbalism classes, and stuff like that. And just today, her manager at the herb store, and again, we're in Colorado, it's not weed, it's medicinal herbalism for the listeners. Her manager approached her. She's been working there like 3 or 4 months and offered her the position of a store manager.
Whoa.
Yeah, so managing the entire store. I think there's like 6 or 7 employees. She's already been doing a lot of like, she works at the lab, they call it, where they make like all the tinctures and the tea blends and all that stuff. Like she's been pretty much running that by herself, and she's going to be taking that over completely. But yeah, so she just got a promotion to the store manager. There's people who've been working there for literally years. She'll be managing them. It's full-time with benefits.
Nice.
And it came with like a pretty big raise. And they're talking about like after 6 months, if she's still killing it, another one. So she told me that
sounds pretty corporate for an herbal shop.
Yeah, it's not corporate. I mean, it's still gonna be pretty laid back, right?
She's working for the man.
Oh, she is the man. So
I'm just kidding. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Super excited. She's taking all these courses because she wants to like open her own practice for like clinical herbalism. She's been super busy, and it seems to be paying off. So I'm super happy for her. And like, I'm making good money to the point where like I kind of feel like I don't know what to do with it. It's not that much, but it's like I'm on track to make like double what I made last year with all the overtime.
Put it on those credit cards, Bia.
Oh, I know, dude. I already talked to my dad. I'm going savings, credit cards, and then I'm going to start investing in this stock market.
Whoa, stock episode, bro?
Oh God, I have nothing to say about it. I have other than Tesla's too expensive for me right now.
Yeah, that's it. That you have just listened to Reminiscence stock episode.
So yeah, super happy for my girlfriend.
Nice.
There's another highlight of the week that you know about as well, but that will be for a later date on this show.
Ooh, whoa.
What?
All right. We'll leave it. That's a pretty good cliffhanger. Join us again next week for another episode of Reminiscent. And,
no, we're gonna do the thing. Right?
What?
Let's call it there. That's a good ending.
I thought so. That's a hell of a cliffhanger. Tom did something incredibly important it would count on Facebook. I've said too much already. See you next week, everybody.
All right. Bye.